Hey, Internet, I haven't even done a sound check to see if this thing will be working, but I got a limited amount of time today to chat with you, so I wanted to get that going as soon as I could. This is not a day I ever plan or want to plan. Tax day, not the day it's due, the day I gotta sit down and pay obeisance to the overlords of tea and stamps. Those who we thought we once cast off would now rule over us in the name of their ancestors. I don't know. It's tax day, and we're still working on it. And my beloved, who's helping me this year for the first time and learning the joys of this process. Thankfully, she does not mind paperwork quite as much as I do. So there, maybe we'll find some balance there. But she needs my computer back to continue working on this. So we got about 15, maybe 25 minutes here to chat a bit and catch up and all that. So yeah, and I don't have a lot planned this afternoon. Tomorrow, I'm planning to get us some more text, do a little of the midweek Lenten kind of style thing. But today, Luke, what's up? Luke Antavares says, "Stop." Today, it's more just, hey, what's going on? I have a meeting at 6. We're doing, my elders and I are attempting to digitalize our meeting in order to retain a healthy social distance. We could meet together at church, because we'd be under 10. But see, the point is not the number 10 so much as coming and going and coming and going and coming and going, all that kind of stuff. So I also went to Costco today. I went at the same bet time, same bet channel last week to Costco. It felt more or less the same. I was really surprised that it said at the front that they were out of toilet paper. So when I grabbed some Scott paper towels and then got home, I realized I had bought Scott toilet paper, which is great because we kind of wanted it, but we thought it was gone. And as a result, I don't have any paper towels. I don't even know. Maybe they did have some. I'm sure they did. So that was a little funny. And it was interesting. Like, it's so quiet. Going shopping is so quiet now. And it's not like when you go shopping before, everybody was talking, right? But we weren't not talking. And now it's like smile, motion, and then the employees are just, I don't know, eager. That's good, right? I don't know, cleaning and cleaning and cleaning, which is good. Uh, but cleaning things nobody gone near or touched since you last cleaned it is weird to me. Um, just trying to stay busy. Dennis says hello from California, and it's good to see the Jedi Knight is with us as well. He says, yo, hell yo. I see. I didn't mean to say that, and now someone's gonna hear it. I meant to say hello, like, and yo together, and it came out as something that I pray does not cause offense. I apologize if it does. Luke says we're going to do Zoom meetings for Bible study and confirmation. Highly bummed out about Easter. Right. So again, Zoom is what we're going to be using this evening. We have purchased for the congregation a professional package or whatever that means, so we can have more than one person. And whatever, it's like $15 a month or so, right? So we're going to do that. Confirmation, we just confirmed everybody early because of this whole process. So the classes are less of an issue. Bible study is an interesting question. It's an interesting question. How do we get back into that? Because there's just no way you're going to get everybody who was at Bible study to tune in for the video. And how are you going to get them to know to do it? What is your communication channels and process for helping people? I mean, it's been said for a while now, though you may not be privy to this, but young pastors and pastors talking with old pastors and old pastors too, how soon can we make the jump to email as a way of contacting everybody in the congregation? Because it's still not true. And when you're ever in a discussion about something new that involves the websites, it is inevitable that someone's going to say, well, you're not thinking about the people who don't use email. I say, well, no, actually we are. We want them to use email so that we can get a hold of them in events like this, right? There is no question that with everything else that's going on, email, along with maybe even more than snail mail, I don't know. If you need to get a hold of somebody today and you have your email address and they check it, it is still the best way to get in contact with anybody in the world across all forms and systems, especially in groups, right? In groups. So anyhow, for what that's worth, having that ability to draw your people back into that Zoom Bible study, that's to me the question, right? When I talk to people at the congregation about the YouTube stuff that I'm doing, there are some who already know, and so they're cool. And then there are those who don't know, and they're basically scared of it. They're like, hey, what are you asking me to do, Pastor? Type YouTube into the into the website. And I totally empathize with that, because I know when I come to a new device or a new program and look at it for the first time, I'm stunned. I don't even know what to make of it. So that's kind of where we've been hit in some ways as congregations, really behind the ball. I don't say I've known that. I think we can say we have been aware of a lack of communication and record keeping in general in most congregations that are not highly sold out on the leadership bandwagon, which sadly most of those that have done that have, well, they're not listening to this. For those of us on that more, let's go old school ancient style, applying the wisdom of first article, what problem solving to this is something that is often done a bit like Cassandra warning about the horse. So for all that, yeah, good. I'm glad that you guys are doing that. I just I'm just worried about what it'll do to us, and then being bummed about Easter. Yeah, well, I said it a while back, and apparently I said it pretty poorly because I confused somebody. But I'm gonna be going for a walk on Easter morning if there's no church anywhere else, and that walk will take me very close to church. It'll be a private walk though, I promise. So yeah, just yeah, for what that's worth. Yeah, and I'm still on this too. So Wolf Mueller and I on our podcast, we talked about, or he was the one who dug up the research about area in Texas that during the Spanish flu shut down everything. Churches shut down for 30 days. It was good. It worked. That's great. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like there's precedent. Okay. Um, Part of Texas and the planet are kind of different to me. And that's where I'm just worried about what it means to lose Easter this year for us. I just see it symbolically as a big deal. It's gonna do more than just be sad for us because we're not going. I think it's gonna mean something far more substantial on like a psychosocial level to a lot of people that maybe were here before and maybe won't be after. And I don't know. That's my fear. What I mean, if I'm paid, I guess, to worry about these things, that's what pastors do. But yeah, it's just not as simple as, oh well, we're shutting down a couple days. I don't know. I mean, you shut down your martial arts studio for a month and a half, and you'll get some back. You're not going to get them all back, right? And so this is jeopardonious. That's not a word. Jedi Knight says again, I had a funny thought on how to legally meet for Palm Sunday, like temporarily register your church as something essential. Maybe you can have a church be like, yeah, you know what? If we donated blood right now, for pity's sakes, talk about like that's what we're getting phone calls asking us to go donate blood. It's like, wait, you told us not to go out, not to be in areas with groups of people. Now you want me to go to somewhere where you're gonna like have lots of people and medical equipment, and I'm not sick. I don't know. If we donated blood, we could probably have church. Although it'd be really a catastrophe trying to manage all that. And we just got a statewide, or maybe it was nationwide. I don't even know. Like Amber Alert tornado warning level request via my iPhone, that if I am a certified doctor, nurse, otherwise, to go get a job at a hospital helping, which is cool. Like that should happen if there are those who aren't already doing that. I would imagine most people are. I doubt that emergency cell phone message is going to really change minds on that. It might seem like a weird abuse of power to me though, and I don't know if that was Trump or if that was Pritzker, Illinois governor. I don't know. I don't care. It's sort of like, but that's for when I'm supposed to run away from things, right? That noise. And what you've just done is turned it into your need to talk to me, right? When it wasn't even to me or my family at all. And I really didn't like that. Doesn't matter, I guess, but it was weird to me. So one more piece where they just keep going further. That's my opinion. So our pastor, Marcia says, came over to give us communion since Arizona has a stay-at-home order starting at 5. Good for him. That's another option, right? Full-on pastor house to house. The reason I don't want to do that here, aside from it would just be insane on me, it's because it would just be insane on me, and it would actually be probably more likely to spread the virus than meeting in a controlled environment, one family at a time, where you can control the whole environment. So that's why we're doing it our way. But I mean, that's awesome that he's doing it that way. Like I do not want to dismiss that at all. That is yeoman warrior kind of work right there. So God bless him in that. And I'm sure if each family is going to, be careful as they entertain him, and as he's careful as he goes place to place, that's not really a problem. But again, that's the kind of extra work you add work, more cleaning that way, I think. And so forth. Scott's listening. or watching. In Washington, what's up, Scott? How are you doing this late afternoon for us, early afternoon for you? Luke chimes in again. Facts. I'm wondering if we could do a record on Zoom and post it to our Facebook, since a lot of us can use that more easily than Zoom services. Oh, could record it. Yeah, you could. Um, yeah, Zoom services is going to be difficult. I can't see that. I would just start a YouTube channel and broadcast into it. I don't know if Zoom will do that for you. I don't know if Zoom will do that for you. I think it will. I don't use Zoom to broadcast, so I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't try to do a Zoom service. That seems odd to me. That's just not what that software is for. Just stream it on YouTube or Facebook Live again. The big thing with streaming services is if you're not set up to catch the sound, you're really just wasting your time, and you're better off letting someone else who's already doing it really well be the one who feeds you, and then trying to maintain contact with your people some other way if you can. That's my opinion. I'm trying that. I don't expect that I'm doing it perfectly. I know I'm not. But I would rather have my leaders and I spending our time hand to hand contacting everybody than trying to put together a service where no one can hear what we're doing anyway. When Village will do and whatnot are doing it great. Artist says we had a very small group on Twitter Bible study, then did it FaceTime today. Zoom was back up. Twitter attempt was a mess. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's gonna be really awkward trying to do it that way. I mean, half the time when you're here watching Mad Christian stuff, you're getting kind of a Bible study, right? But I'm not, and I'm engaging, but I'm not. I don't stop. There's not a lot of back and forth. And so if the Bible study is expected to be a back and forth Bible study, it's gonna be really awkward to transition to a place where everyone can talk at the same time and no one's sure if they're supposed to or not. So it'll take a while. I mean, give it some time if you want to keep trying it. Not ideal, right? Not the ideal platform. In fact, I would consider, why do I do what I do on YouTube? I do not go back and forth all the time with you. I do not, we don't treat this so much as a conversational. If I had someone else on the show, I would, but I'm more or less a talking head to you, right? I just keep going. You keep listening. I keep talking, right? And so that's effectively what a Bible study on a screen is going to need to be as well. And if the pastor's not ready for that, if his form or training or philosophy of pedagogy in the classroom is more what's the right word? Is it Aristotelian? A little back and forth, kind of what do you think? Who knows an answer, right? That's going to be really tough online. If he's just got to get on and preach at you, and then it could be fine, right? It could be really good. You might see him open up a whole new side of himself. So for what all that's worth, yeah, right. It hit me hard today how bummed I am. Ari Palm Sunday and Easter. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Um, you know my plans. They are advertising for that in Vermont as well. What is that? What are we advertising for? Something, Josh? Fill me in on that one. Yay, Fisk. Thank you. Ronoct924 says, Yay, Fisk. Me too, says Elizabeth. I look out the window for the weather at first, then I was like, what? When I saw the message. Oh, right. You're talking about the interruption. Right. It was like, because we had a tornado warning 2 nights ago. So it was like, again, I mean, we do live in the Midwest, but 2 in 2 days is a lot. I miss my earthquakes in California. They were so much safer. But yeah. And so it's like, that's not fair to take that kind of fear and use that for something like this. Joseph says, we have been sitting in our cars in the parking lot with Pastor in Oregon on short range FM transmitter, listening on our radios. That's one way to do it. It'd be pretty cool if then he could come around and in a very clean and controlled way distribute the sacrament as well. I could see that really working out. And if you're doing it as a group, that definitely has possibilities. In fact, for say like Easter, that might be something to consider as opposed to random walks that just happen to be in the same area. So all that kind of thing. Yeah. Is that dishonest? I just had that question. Is that dishonest? Right. I don't think so. I think it's pretty straightforward. Look, I'm gonna walk. If you shut down my church on Easter Sunday, I'm going to walk there. And I actually live close enough I can, but I could drive somewhere else and then walk there too and look at the church, think on the resurrection. And if I saw other Christians there, I think I'd be encouraged, even if we never talked, even if we were 100 feet away from each other, because we know that we weren't alone on Easter Sunday. So I don't know. Maybe just all drive around a circle in the parking lot so you can see each other. I don't know. I just am not, in my point, ready to say, yep, it's all over. That's me. And it may come to pass that I regret that. Allison said you can record Zoom and put it on YouTube. Yes, you can record, put on YouTube. Zoom's control of the definition in both audio and video is not real great. I recorded a podcast in Zoom using its audio once, and then also at the same time, just a very basic OCEN audio, OCEN audio. It's a free, pretty cheap recorder. I only use it for some side things. But the difference was just palpable. So if you're looking for, when you're doing video of like people singing, you want the best sound you can get, and I would not recommend using Zoom for that at all. And Josh was referring to joining volunteer medical services when he said advertising in Vermont for that. Right. So it may be national. That might have been an Orange Man thing, which would be something I didn't like, and yet I'm not going to scream about it because I'm reasonable and actually middle right for reals. So what was that? That was interesting. Okay. So Billy Bob Jr. says, what is far right? I don't even know what that means. It's like alt right. How's that far? Is that far right? It seems like it's different than right. How can alt right also be far right? Alt right is like you took a turn, an alternative, right? So what is far right for real? I really don't know. Don't know. Of course, I am. What is it? Oh, I can't think of it now. I have all sorts of things on YouTube you can watch and accuse me of things for. Billy Bob Joe Jr. says, I might be the only one kind of happy about this pandemic. I moved back to parents whose church is still holding services, not so where I was. Well, Billy Bob, you got to be careful how you say it. I talked about this a bit in Mad Mondays, I think, this week as well. Like, you don't have to be like wailing and moaning about it. That's not required. But it's pretty important to realize that there's a lot of people whose lives are being immediately and dramatically and painfully impacted by this, whether or not they have the disease, and that's going to continue, and that I still am going to go ahead and make my pie in the sky prediction claim that the greatest impact of this will be the economic and social impact that falls out maybe 3 months, maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, when we don't go back to normal like we were. When this only amplifies the divide between, say, political screamers, when this only increases our distrust of things like media and each other. I mean, we're all quiet at Costco, and most of us are not looking at each other. Once in a while, we meet eyes and smile, but a lot of times we just run away, right? Well, is that just going to go away? Especially when we're doing this because we remembered something. We remembered that this planet actually is here, and we can't just tell the planet that we feel a certain way and it'll listen to us. So if I have been born with a certain set of, biological genitalia, I can procreate, and if I haven't, I cannot. And if I get a virus, it can kill me, and if I don't get it, it can't. Right? So this world of like, I don't know, of a universe that's not theoretical but is actually just there, right? This is a nice gut check for that. Like, we haven't thought about that. You're screaming about us blowing up the planet in 12 years with fossil fuels. That's a joke. We're not going to do it in 12 years. But this kind of thing could have happened any time, and it could happen again. So, and it wouldn't kill the whole planet. It would just, kill some of us, and that would be pretty much par for the course for human history. So, this idea that we could avoid it forever was due. In fact, all fall, I think, I was not talking about this. I was talking about Islam, but all fall in our knowing God stuff I was doing, I was talking about like what? How do you imagine what happens if things change dramatically? I did the Higher Things last summer, and I did a men's retreat this fall about the zombie apocalypse. Right? How to rethink about what really is central to Christianity, just in case things all disappear. If you actually had a zombie apocalypse, how would you keep the church there? What would be the thing you'd have to keep, and then build on that now, because that's the thing that matters, right? So, um, I'm not. I want to get back to where you were about, being happy about it, but I don't want to leave behind that bit either. That like we need. It's not I'm happy about this. We need this gut check pretty badly as Christians. We need it as a planet. We're going to tear each other apart otherwise. Now this may make it worse. It could make it worse, but it's definitely going to make it different. It's going to make us reassess all of it. And again, I think we're not going to feel it. So you're at home and it feels great, but I'm just a year from now, man, just hold your breath and pray. Lord have mercy, right? Lord have mercy. Because we just don't know. the impact here. And God willing, it's nothing. And it all just rolls fine. And there's no Great Depression number 2 that really puts 30% of us out of work and we're, hungry for dust, right? Because that could happen. That does happen. Or that no other nation decides to use this as a peremptory strike on some other small nation that causes a chain of events that leads to some accidental world war. That's happened before too. So, you know, that's why I resist the word happy here. But what I will tell you is that as an introvert, my days have been very nice. Excuse me. I've enjoyed a bit of a reprieve, and as I've said other places, I'm kind of doing a deep dive, quarterly review, information overhaul. Excuse me. Taxes, right? That kind of thing. So the quiet, I've enjoyed that. Being able to listen to some more music, I've enjoyed that. I haven't read enough yet or wrote enough yet, but I plan to. At the same time as all of that, though, yeah, what it's gonna do, what it's gonna do in the long term is the thing. I just don't think we can imagine it. We still can only think of life being like it was, and something about it will be different. Whether it's the surreal nature, the distrust, or whether there really is like we're all just suddenly very aware of bugs for like ever. Who knows? Although I did see now, if someone can find this number again, I was pretty surprised yesterday to see how many. Oh, let me see if I can do it here. Hold on, I'm gonna find it before I tell you what it is. It was a comparison of the number of deaths every year by a particular thing in the United States. I'm thinking and typing at the same time. And it's just stunning to put the numbers next to each other. Let's see here. Right. Now I need to do some math. Oh man. Hold on. This'll fix it. Come on, Dr. Google, save my backside. Okay. So that doesn't help me, but we're going to get to it. It will help me. All right. So I think for the good of the world, we're going to go ahead and jump over so you can see what I'm looking at here. We are looking at heart disease facts. Heart disease is the leading cause of death for men, women, and people of most racial and ethnic groups in the U.S. One person dies every 37 seconds in the U.S. That's only 647,000 Americans every year, 1 in every 4 deaths. It costs us $219 billion each year, and that includes healthcare, medicine, lost productivity. It's caused by coronary heart disease, generally speaking, but not always. 18.2 million adults aged 10 and 20 have coronary heart disease. That's, well, 7% of us is more than have coronavirus. 2 in 10 deaths from cardiac arrest happen in adults less than 65. So it's a 20% killer of those who are not senior citizens. That's pretty intense too. Heart attack itself is every 40 seconds. Actually having the heart attack, you're at 800,000 people a year. It does vary by sex, race, ethnicity. But my point here is 647,000 a year. That puts it at not quite, right? Yeah, not quite, but going on 200,000 a day. No, I'm wrong. Thank goodness. 365 times 2. There we go. That gets you to the 600,000 sort of. But then, that'd be 1,000 a day? Yeah, 2,000 a day. There we go. A little less, was that 18? I'm totally in like guesstimation mode, but 1,800 a day. So again, that's as many deaths, not as we've seen from coronavirus, but as we initially did in the first 2 months, or even almost 3. That's as many deaths as we've seen. So just for some perspective about this, because you know what's preventable by and large, besides the coronavirus. I mean, heart disease. Not entirely. High blood pressure, blood cholesterol, risk factors. Diabetes is a big one. So if you're type 2, well, and we all know what causes that, right? Overweight, and we all know what causes that too, or do we? That's a question, I suppose. Unhealthy diet, lack of activity, excessive alcohol use, that could do it. Just listen to some Alexander the Great stuff this morning. Wow. And so forth. So what the reason I share all this again is just for that moment of perspective where it's like, wait a minute. So many people are dying every second of every day. in the country. And this is important because it could really cause problems. It's going to, of course, what's going on in New York City, I don't want that to happen here. I don't want to overload the hospital. I don't want people to go and pass us for no reason. I don't want all of our ability to handle it to be lost, so that lives that could be saved in the midst of trying to deal with severities of the cold, the really bad cold. So lives that could be saved aren't saved because they can't get the help. I don't want any of that. So I'm fully for, like, let's shelter in place, right? Reasonably and without infringing upon certain inalienable rights. Hmm. Uh, I'm not against uh, doing all that we can, and my family and I are doing that. What I want us to recognize is that there's a lot more going on than this every day. And so, in terms of a threat, we really could take a deep breath and realize that that's this planet. It's just the planet. There we go. So my math was close. 657-ish. I said 1800. So that's good. Yay, thank you. Trying to see if anybody's over here who has not had a chance to be seen in the discussion yet. Julie, have I talked about your name yet? Julie says, I have suggested that we meet in our cars in the parking lot on Easter Sunday using every physical distance available. Watch via live stream. Voted off the island. Yeah. Well, that's what worries me. But again, for good reasons. And we really just want to all let everyone do what they can at this time, and then learn from each other, respect each other, support each other. So I'm not going to say it's wrong not to meet. Just don't tell me it's wrong to meet either. I even have a plan for Holy Communion, but someone to get through this. Well, oh, I forgot. But I need to do that right now. That'll totally be longer than I meant to. What time is it? I got a meeting at 6 o'clock. I don't have a clock right here. What clock? 5:13. Okay. This is disappointing. That's all I can say about this. Let's see. We're gonna fix this. Do not go away right now. You do not want to leave, because this is the beginning of the end. Yes, this is where confusion reigns. This is so weird and so not what we needed right now. Going to take me half a second here. I'm going to make sure that the things that need to be hidden are, and it will take me more moments to prepare. This is what you get when you get me daily. You get me really bad daily. All right, I think I've hidden all the information that is pertinent in terms of privacy. Somebody shared with me this. Uh-oh. I need to make this smaller so we can see it all. Let's do it that way. Back there. Someone shared with me this email, which came out from, you can see it. They're very proud of it. Concordia Lutheran Church, San Antonio, Texas. And, good for them. Okay. Like I said, email is the best way to keep in touch with people. In communion, it begins. This was a couple days ago, this went out. In communion, we receive incredible gifts, and we want to invite you to join us this week in celebration of all God has done. They're going to have communion this week. Good for them. Very bold. Check out the video by Senior Pastor Bill Tucker. He has a special invitation for you. We're going to pass on that for a moment. Just look up what they're going to talk about. These are difficult times. Coronavirus continues to spread. We've been asked by our government to stay at home except to take care of essential needs. Is the Lord's Supper essential? I am so thankful that even when we are at home apart, we are able to stream our weekend services so we can worship together online. Can we now? What does this word mean? Where'd that word come from? Do we even have that word in the Bible as we use it in English today, or in the confessions either? And I would contend, no, we don't. It's a completely different thing. But hey, whatever. I'm picking a bone there. I apologize. I have received several questions about whether we will be able to celebrate communion while we worshiping online. I bet you have. I know that in addition to physical needs like food, water, sleep, and exercise, we all have spiritual needs as well. True. Receiving the body and blood of Jesus is one of those needs that is essential. Okay, wait. Okay, so we're to stay at home except to take care of essential needs. Jesus is essential. Well, that sounds good too, right? I'm on with that. We have been working hard to develop a plan to celebrate communion even while we're apart. Common union while not common union. Okay, we have consulted with the church council. Who's that? Like, now I know it is, but it's just, it means it's probably not a public letter, but so they mean the church council of their congregation, not some grand divine oracle, right? But some elected people who are doing harder work than they probably need to on behalf of the rest of the congregation. Thank God for those kinds of people, but not necessarily those who are equipped to make this decision. And the president of the Texas district, which is interesting. I know the gentleman, and unfortunately, by his answer, not necessarily able to make this kind of a decision either, because he goes directly against our theology, top down, bottom, left, and right, and even the most recent stuff put out last couple of days from the church body itself. So I appreciate Texas generally as a state, but the Texas district in the LCMS wouldn't be known for its Texasness, honestly. It's known for its East Coastness, if I can say it that way. It's saltwaterness, if I can say it that way. So, well, but it doesn't matter what the Bible says because the church council and the Texas district say it's okay. So we're going to 28th, 29th, 4th, 5th, during normal times, celebrate communion online. Here's what you need. Have some bread, wine, or, oh, look, see? And this is where it's like, see, you showed your colors already, and now you're just doing what your colors tell you to do. So sacramentarianism is when you do not really actually believe Jesus is physically present according to all the promises of God within the full, reality of orthodoxy, which would include gathering together to eat it, according to the words. This bread, this wine, and adding juice means you don't really believe those words to begin with. You've said that wine doesn't matter, juice is fine. How far is it to the word is? That's the question. Now, I'm not going to say that all of this and this congregation and this pastor do not believe, if asked, that Jesus is under as the bread, wine of the supper. I'm going to say what they're doing reveals that they don't really believe it enough to not do what they're doing. Because if they believed it enough, they wouldn't do what they're about to do. Like use grape juice. So for whatever services you choose to stream, if you'd like to try to bake unleavened bread, right? Because why would you use unleavened bread? Why would you not just go ahead and use regular bread? Well, because we usually use unleavened bread because it is what Jesus would have used at Passover, and it's not a law, but that's a big decision to go ahead and make right there. If it's going to change like that. I mean, this could be a great. You know who doesn't use unleavened bread? Sacramentarians. It's not a 1-to-1 correlation. Is not causation, but come on, how many feathers on the bird till it's a bird, right? When's it a duck? At the usual time during the service, I will speak the traditional words we say before communion, known as the words of institution. However, this time I will invite you to speak the words with me. The words will be on the screen. This will be a moment of unity. I disagree completely. It will be like the definition of dividing yourselves forever. And I think theologically, you will have no way to turn back what this will do psychologically to your people in terms of their belief in the need for you. Just own it, church. Yeah, you're saying you don't need us. And you're saying you don't really need us for the supper because the supper isn't really about us, although it is. You're trying to do some magical thing by the power of again, Kronos and Hephaestus through the interwebs to have these priestly words spoken but by you, but not by you, by us. What's going on? You're throwing everything that we know to the wind, and you're hoping this works, which it could. And so if your argument is, well, this could work, yes, it could all be true. But you really don't know, and that's the problem. You mess with the sacrament, and you suddenly are in the land of I don't know. Church town. You're in church town. After I speak the word, you can pass the bread to each other. What, could you just eat it? Saying to each person, take, eat. Okay, well, okay. Then pass the wine or grape juice. Saying, take, drink. Okay. This is good that these words would be used. Are you sure it's there? Is this actually Jesus? Because honestly, I don't know. And you're claiming that it is. I hope you have a thus saith the Lord that has introduced this new practice to the entire world and church. Otherwise, I think you will be held accountable for this. I just don't know how to say it. You're making something up. And it worries me. It worries me that the letter is intending to care, but it is dividing. It's not just dividing the congregation. Like by definition, they are not together. They are separate from each other and pretending to be together and hoping Jesus is there to do it without any promise. It's not only happening there. You're only dividing that way. You're also dividing from me, your brother in the church, in the ministry, on the roster, who is following the practice we've agreed to follow as a church body, and you're like, nope, I don't care. That's interesting, right? Division. That would be division, the definition. If there's someone in your group who has not been confirmed, does not understand the significance of communion, you can lay your hands on them Makes me think of, is that Bon Jovi? And speak the opening words of the benediction, the Lord bless you and keep you. That's fine. That's nice. Baptism is always a good thing to remember at such a time as well. If you're living alone, staying home during the crisis can be lonely, even frightening. I'm praying that our celebration community will remind you that you're not alone. It's going to make you feel even more alone than you were before. I mean, they might not. Maybe it'll cover them up. But if it's just bread and wine, Christ is with you in this meal. I wish I could say that you can say that, and I agree. But sadly, our whole church body disagrees with you, except for those who don't and have not been loud enough about this particular thing. But the sacramentarian lean is here among us. We'd be better off if we were all just honest about it. We'd be real. I mean, we could stop fighting over stuff. We just like separate. I'm like, oh, wait, we believe really different things about the Lord's Supper. Maybe we should not commune together. But of course, only half of us think that the implications are we shouldn't commune together, right? And that would be those of us who are not sacramentarians. I know it. It's like it all just keeps adding up. It's the same thing. You had to listen in class. Yeah, oh goodness. I love the heart. I love the desire. I love the care. I love the wanting to find a way to make people not be alone in a time of crisis. I totally get it. But thus saith the Lord, it was not spoken yet. I miss you, love you too. It's great. It's great. Thank you. All that. Here is a recipe for bread. It's very thoughtful. So, I mean, all I can say to this, oh, thank goodness that had turned around. See, it's time me doing my taxes today. What is going on, Jonathan? I need to get to this so I can go toward the closing. Here we go. So there you go. I mean, I've gotten it in email questions. I've heard this on various places, arguments across the internet, on Twitter. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And the LCMS has always said, no, can't do it on radio. Well, why? Because you can see it now. It counts more. We've never done this. TV, never done this. No, we can't do this. We can't trust it. We don't know for sure. We said that for a long time, and now we're just going to go do it. Whatever. Who cares? Church body, merch body. We don't. Why do we have that for? To get in the way. And you hear me complain about Lutheran insularity, but look, if you're mad about what I'm saying, you need to deal with the CTCR. To begin with. Jedi Knight Cringewalker, again, thank you for the super chat, $10. He says, on the topic of government, that's a change. Hungary granted dictator powers to the prime minister. Wow. German state financial minister committed suicide over... Really? Where'd you hear that? I can get how the secular humanism is going to fail them. The strong man is all they got left. And Germany, of all people, was it Germany? Oh, Hungary. Hungary is a fairly conservative prime minister, I think. Pro-life, if I recall. Yeah, on the topic of government, I don't know, Jedi Knight. Yes, pray they find Christ again. That's just it. The government can't save us. This is where it will go bad whenever it goes bad, is when we want the government to do things it can't do. The government cannot save us from the wrath of God. If this is the wrath of God against the planet, which all these things always are, they're but the beginnings of birth pains, then how do we expect some designed gift of God given to lead, guide, cherish, guard on God's behalf to be good enough to guard from God? Huh? It's foolhardy. It's foolhardy. Is there ever layman's communion? What does that mean by layman? What do you mean by that word? That word doesn't even make sense today. We've used it so many ways. Pastor doesn't mean anything. Minister doesn't mean anything. Is there ever a situation in which it would make sense for a non-ordained, non-male to consecrate the sacrament according to the words of Jesus? No, not really. Like, you can make up the deserted island answer if you want, and maybe come up with some reason where you're all on a deserted island and there's no men left, only women, and no pastors, only lay women. And at that point, you happen to have bread and wine, and so you're going to have the Lord's Supper. And so then one of you, all the women have to ordain the one woman, I guess, who's going to be doing it from that point on, because you still believe in the office of the ministry, in theory. Like, you can make up that story, but it only shows you how ridiculous the argument is. There is never a time where you need communion or you're going to lose your faith. Right? There's no emergency need for communion. Sad as that is, right? It's not. So we can go without it. And it was in my the newsletter, Mad Mondays, which will be showing up at redfist.com as posts all week long. So if you go there and scroll and look and hunt, you'll be able to find it. There is a link to an Issues Etc. episode that was Brian and I mentioned this in the podcast we did on Thursday. But someone heard us and like sent the answer to where the story came from about Lutherans who lived without pastors for 70 years under dictatorial and materialistic Russia, atheistic Russia. And they survived in the faith without the supper that whole time. It's quite the story. It's quite the story. Were they wrong to do that? Should they just have had home communion or whatever, you know? That's what that email says, by the way. These people who suffered for faith are just kind of being ignored. Sexist Don talking about where that all came from. I mean, I don't want to point fingers and throw stones. I'm talking about the idea itself. Other groups are going to do the same thing. Huge church, 9,000 people. Yeah, it'd be pretty tough to have it. How does he love all of them? That's what I mean. He said, I love you all. How is that possible? 9,000 people. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's going to be their death knell. It will not help them survive this crisis. So give it 20 years. But you just told them all they don't have to come to church to get Jesus. So when you start up services again, if you're not streaming so that they can commute at home and they decide they like commute at home better, they're going to go somewhere else, aren't they now? Yeah. So maybe you're just going to keep this practice going. And then you're creating this home group, right? It's a bad business plan. I mean, that's theology side is a bad business plan, but then theology thrown in, it's a really bad business plan. But it'll take time to show. Time to show. Is there a layman's baptism? Now, see, here's the other answer. Yes, there is. Because in the case of being about to die and not having had the Lord's Supper recently, you are baptized. And so you can always rely on that promise that is always there. Yeah. So if you don't have that, then that needs to happen. Excuse me. Now, there's precedent for this, both in terms of the New Testament and in terms of history. And there's precedent for not having a layman's Lord's Supper in the same way. So it all kind of hinges together. And I've talked about this other places. Well, why is it different? Because they're not the same thing. Don't treat sacrament like a biblical category. It's not. It's a category we use to try to understand things we don't understand in the Bible. And just because we use the same term to call things we don't understand doesn't mean they're exactly the same and all work the same way. So baptism and the supper do not coincide as equal things just because we use the sacrament word to describe them. Monica says, I kept seeing something around the issue that said there's a Luther thing about heads of households and that makes it okay. Luther talks about how the father is the priest of the household and how the mother is the priestess of the household, but he's really talking about preaching the word of God. So, when that congregation is filled with families who all the husbands are catechizing and preaching every day from the Bible to their families, then we should ordain them and they can all just have communion at home and not come to church. But see, the point is to go. Do you guys know that the word church is the Greek word get together in a place that's not your house? Like, that's what it means, that we as humans don't stay home, but come out and gather. That every time you see the word church anywhere, it is from that original Greek word used by Jesus to describe his saving of people. At the heart of which is word and sacrament, right? The supper. So now you're going to say you can get together without getting together. And to use Luther's bit, I mean, Luther's a wax nose. You can grab all sorts of stuff from Luther and twist it. So yeah, the father is the priest of the house and he should be preaching regularly. But just because he's the priest of the house, there's no priests in the New Testament except for all of us. We're all priests. Does that mean everyone just does the Lord's Supper whenever they feel like it? So along with the sacramentarian issue, you have the denial of the office. And without question, there's been a fight to dismiss the office of the ministry as an existent reality in Missouri Synod. Oh, for 50, 60, 70 years. We got books about it. We got movements about it. We got whole university systems dedicated to teaching people that the ministry isn't there. Strangely, even though they were once dedicated to teaching how to serve within or next to, now they're all about how it's not right there. So that's also a move that's going on here, right? That it is unnecessary for the office to be there to forgive your sins, that it is unnecessary for the office to be there. Why is he even streaming with it? Anyway. Two paths diverge in a forest. I say I'm taking the road less traveled. And we will see with time, won't we? Wisdom is proven, justified even by her children. Just agreeing with Monica there. So we got all that. Looking for anybody new. I know I got another super chat. Josh, super chatted for $10. Appreciate it. Just a thank you for what you do and are doing. I do thank you for that on tax day when I feel like no matter what I do, I'm always on the wrong side of tax day. I don't know. Can a pastor consecrate the sacraments and an elder distribute in the home? No. That's our answer. I mean, it's always been our answer until like the last 60 years when guys were like, oh, I think we should do this. And they just started doing it. And now they'll do it again. Why? Well, if you'd like to adopt a Roman Catholic view of the words of institution, then you can do this. And if you would like to not adopt a Roman Catholic, like literally sacerdotal view, priestly view, magical view, priestcraftly view, idolatrous view of the supper, then you would not do this. Because when you do this, you're basically saying that the pastor has a magical power in his person that is required for the supper. And he doesn't have to be there. He just has to enact that power, that chrism, right? This is Roman Catholic teaching. And that without that, the supper can't be. Well, so we never say that. We say the supper only exists according to the words, but the pastor's the only guy who's authorized to do it for us when we're together. So you need him there to make sure we all know that we're all part of this, right? And this is what Jesus started. He instituted this. So for the pastor to do that and then not be there, and for the elders to then go and do that is to take this, again, Roman Catholic view of the supper, magically transubstantiated, really, and never going back, which, as much as I consume all the reliquae as best I can, I've taught them to do that here. I believe it remains Jesus after the supper is over. And so if you take Jesus as a piece of bread and bury him in the ground, you bury Jesus in the ground, which is why I think we should eat all the rest of it to begin with, right? But that doesn't mean that I believe that so firmly I'll say, thus saith the Lord, because the word does not tell us when it begins to be Jesus or ceases to be Jesus. We can argue about it until the cows come home. You think you have your opinion. Yeah, but someone else has a different one, and we've got no final answer on the matter. And so what do? I eat it so that I don't have to worry about that answer. That's why consuming the reliquae is great. It solves all the problems. But now you're not wanting to just consume the reliquae. You're wanting to not even eat any of it, right? Or not all of it, and then send it off with the promise when they take and eat it that it actually is him, when you don't really know that it is, because for all you know, if it is the pastor's magic juju, maybe it doesn't go with you when you leave. Now, I don't think it's the pastor's magic juju. I think it's something that happens in the assembly, for the assembly, through the office of the ministry. But that's not what this is, so I can't say that this is actually the supper to begin with. And you're introducing doubt on the very place, the one place, the absolute place there should be no doubt. Take and eat this might, hopefully, probably is, I think so, Jesus' body and blood for you for the forgiveness of sins. But if not, you're probably just pretending to drink and eat him to your salvation, but actually you're idolizing this bread of wine and placing your trust in it when it's nothing at all. And in fact, my teaching is heterodoxy, borderline on heresy, which technically means you might not be a Christian. But we're all nice these days, so I won't say any of that stuff. It's just that much of a gray area. And you want to go play in that gray area. And you want me to say yay? No, I can't say yay. Sad. Right now, we're going to divide. We're going to divide even more right now. Benny Hinn's been talking about the Lord's Supper and his body and blood. What does that mean for him when he takes it? I have no clue what Benny Hinn gets or means generally. Or if who spiritually he's speaking with. I don't know. But that's interesting. Maybe he'll convert. That would be something. Henry Canograph went east. Why wouldn't the pastor be able to deliver it if he's able to consecrate? Oh, Luke, I think the idea is there is like you got 9,000 people. Right? How are you going to do that? You need some more hands. And that's pretty tough even when you're in a building together, which would be one of the arguments for not having congregations of 9,000. I've heard it made. Although I wouldn't complain if we're a congregation of 9,000, we're trying to figure it out, all that kind of stuff. But you're, so how do you have that many people come for care? How would you ever do private confession absolution for that many? How would you ever even like individually instruct and or question members? I don't know how you would do any of that, but not my call. All right. Let's see here. I think, R. Simon, you asked this question a lot. Did you think I was ignoring you? I think it didn't show up right away, right? And you kept asking it. That's great. I think I've got to go. Yeah, thank you. I stayed on way longer than I thought. And it's all because of your conversation that made this worth doing. Tomorrow, I don't know, I may come on earlier in the day, but you can find it later in the evening. It'll be, again, the more like Sundays was like a sermon text. I'll put that one on my website on the church website and all that kind of stuff. This is good to finish though. Yeah, is it communion with the pastor? Yeah, so the pastor goes, and then he takes bread and wine that is not Jesus, and then he does a divine service right there with the person. It's not the entire thing. They don't sing all the hymns, right? But they do all the main stuff, and he does it with them. And then generally they commune together. I commune with them. So if I'm doing shut-in visits for 3 or 4 in an afternoon, that's 5.5 hours of work, by the way, probably. You do that, and you're getting communion 4 times as well. So they are not alone, right? And they wouldn't necessarily, I'm not doing that now. When people come to church, I'm not communing with them every single time, although I am communing that day in the same room. I just am consecrating constantly, right? But yeah, I don't like that because, but at least rarely am I just communing one person. That did happen once. Hopefully we'll be able to fix that. But there's still a group. And so church, 2 or 3, right? 2 or 3 gathered in my name. Or 2 or 3 are gathered in my name. Can we gather on the internet? And I'm going to just say, no. Don't let them take that. Don't let them take your first article creatureliness from you. You're a body. You're not just a spirit. You're a body. You're a bodied spirit. You're an embodied spirit or a spirited body. And our bodies are made to be near each other. It's not good for man to be alone. And pictures are nice, and TV's nice, and being reminded of your family and friends far away is nice, but talking with your friends on iMessage is not being with them. And so to say that can replace church even temporarily, it's great. It's great if it's something to feed you, but to actually try to make it, you're missing something, and what you're missing is the creation. So, anyhow, whatever. Shoot me. I am going to go get ready for my meeting and make sure my wife is able to start doing these texts again. But we will catch y'all on the flip side. Newsletter sign up. If you missed this week's, it was solid stuff. Patreon is the way you make all this happen. Of course, the super chats are nice, but Patreon, you can subscribe. Is basically once a week. You're going to get a little bit taken out of your account. Actually, it only happens once a month, but count it up once a week. $1.25, $5 a month, helps support the podcast. It's charged per podcast, helps make the YouTube stuff all keep going, helps me keep working on other stuff like that newsletter, which is behind the scenes, right? I mean, like that, all that. Well, it doesn't make the world go round. Chocolate does that. But it is something that is, if you haven't done it, that'd be great. I need it. Let's see. There's one other one. What's the other announcement? Oh, Without Flesh. I wrote a book about the Lord's Supper and how it's central to the church, the heartbeat and life of the church, and how without it we die. And that's part of why I'm so emphatic about believing that it's something we gather around, and we take the words incredibly seriously, and we do not play. We do not innovate with the supper. Yeah. So, all right. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Lots of thanks on the side. You guys have a great, blessed, safe, wise, fear the Lord and trust in him. You will not be ashamed. Don't wallow in the muck evening. Rock on.